welcome to the Wixoss podcast. Today we're going to be doing Changing Diva, that's set 02's review. We're going to talk about all of the cards. I guess the first thing we should talk about is this is dropped right now on the English Wixoss site, not the one that has the deck builder, which is the EU site. I also think that I guess we should start every time we talk about all the colors, we should probably discuss that Servant Sharp is a staple and is amazing. So we got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and go into the white cards. Now, we're going to use the same grading scale we always use for this type of content, the very advanced scientific grading scale of staple, playable, barely playable, and not playable. So without any further ado, we'll go through our usual shtick, where we start with level 1s and work our way up to level 3s and spells. Alright, level 1. Pele, Blessed Angel, is a level 1 Signy, white, 3000 power, and has an action ability where you can pay a colorless down it and put another target angel Signy from your field to its owner's hand. It's a rare as well. So, is this card any good? And the answer is, actually, it is okay. It's, I would say, barely playable. It's not so easily taken out of the conversation because it is Angel Tribal. Now, Angel Tribal is not, in my opinion, very good in Wixoss, and it doesn't really ever become very good, but it becomes okay. And the trick with this is that you're going to basically want to take other angels that have enter the battlefield effects and re-enter them constantly. So this basically lets you replay those several times. And luckily with Wixoss, you can just sort of kill these things afterwards. You can do the once a turn sacrifice in order to replay whatever you want to on its field. It also does do a very strange way of allowing you to reorder your field, if that's ever something that you ever need to do. But it's still barely playable. It's not like it's ever this is ever really all that amazing. And because this effect only targets angels, you have such a select few things to pick from. However, the two best angels right now, I think, are Hanel and Arkwing, and they both have entered the battlefield effects. So this is an okay answer if you're putting together Angel Tribal. If you're not putting together Angel Tribal, this is not a good card. And I'm going to try this name once, and never again. It's Kogetsun Maryu. This is... Wait, I guess I'll do it twice. Kogetsun Maryu, lightly armed. Level 1 Signy, power 3000, has a constant ability as long as there's another Signy on your field. This Signy gets 4000 power, has a life burst as well. You may pay white if you do return target Signy from your opponent's field to the owner's hand. So the interesting thing with this is that it is aggressive, right? And the problem is that white cards that are aggressive inevitably have to compete with some other solid white level 1 Signys, which are Hanel as well as Zhao Yun. And so where this falls on the white Signy scale, that's up to you, but I think it's actually a playable card. I would never ever really, maybe barely playable is the right answer because it has such stiff competition between those other level 1s. But I would say that it's something to consider if you're playing an aggressive deck that also has white. The real main issue is that this life burst has a cost to it, and realistically, you don't want that cost in there. You'd rather it just do removal that's free, so that way your life bursts, especially in aggressive, load the ground decks, are just constantly doing the things they need to do. So I guess barely playable is the right term for this one. Alright, we've got Totobrisa, Code Maze. It's a level 1 Signy with 1000 power. Its auto ability once a turn is that whenever a Signy on your opponent's field is put into the trash, you can enter charge 1. Okay, so there's very few times you're going to be able to trigger this. It's something I would keep my eye on maybe in the future, and is not future-proof in terms of like it can get better in the future if there's more effects. that trash your opponent's signies that start popping up. And if that were to happen, this is something that you want to consider, because it is a cheap way to start enter charging in a color that doesn't necessarily have that all the time. So it's not quite abusable, again, because it's also once a turn. But it is something that you could consider to be part of an engine later down the line. However, I want to say right now unplayable. There's really no good ways, I mean there's some in white, to put things on the opponent's trash from the field. And if you do that kind of thing, it's okay, but there's no real critical mass of it. I should also mention that this does do the once a turn sacrifice effect, so if they go ahead and say, I enter charge from field, blah, 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 let me sacrifice these 2 signies, you're going to get an enter charge 1 off of their opponent's turn doing that kind of thing. But yeah, it's pretty corner case. And that's our level 1s pretty quick, and keep going through. We've got Cersei, Blessed Angel, level 2, its power is 10,000, it's got no text on it whatsoever except it is an angel, and it has a life burst, which is add target signy with guard from your trash to your hand, and then you can also draw a card. If you were defensive white deck, potentially this is an option. I still think you might want I can't remember the full name of it, Bow Lightly Armed or something like that. Let's go ahead and just take a quick peek over here while I'm here. Bow. There we go. Bow High Armed, because it basically does almost a similar function where it's a vanilla 10,000 that also has a life burst effect, and the life burst effect actively starts winning the game for you because it opens up a lane for you to attack through. But I suppose if you're a really dedicated walls deck, this is something that you could use. So again, barely playable on this one. This, however, I would rate as playable. I was very confused by this art, and I thought this was a ray gun with like a clip or something. No, she's a compass. It's Sirus, a natural planet. It's 7,000 power. It has an enter ability where you can pay colorless. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal a level 1 signy from among them, and add that to your hand. Put the rest in the bottom in any order. This is never a card that you're going to be playing like 1,000 copies of. This isn't something that you're going to full on put the playset in. But if you have a level 2 opener and you need it to be white, and you also need it to not have any life burst, then this is an option for you. Some decks like the deck thinning, right? Like, for example, this is a very valid option for card jockey decks. And they like the deck thinning so they can hit their endless punchline. As we move forward with Wixoss, this is also going to be an okay ability because level 1s in general will get more powerful. So, and thus you want to find certain level 1s. So this is a good filler card. It's never amazing, and it's never even a workhorse, but it's something you should consider. Maybe pick a couple copies up if you play like a lot of white decks, so that way you can just have it around and go like, I've got a hole to fill, let's throw this in. And it will do the job. We've got Synth Force, Code Maze as our next one, level 2, white signy, 8,000 power, and it has the auto ability of whenever a signy on your opponent's field attacks, if there's no signy in front of the attacking signy, you may move this signy to the signy zone from that attacking ability. It also has a life burst, which is target signy on your opponent's field gains constant, this can't attack till end of turn, draw a card. Pretty much we've seen that life burst over and over again. This is okay. I would probably play it down at unplayable if I'm just going to future-proof this rating of this card because it's not significantly good. Again, you have a lot of defensive white level 2 options. Even this technically is like giving this a run for its money here because it plays as an idea as like it's there, it walls, it stalls. It doesn't wall forever, but at least it blocks one signy attack and then gets your card back. This is just sort of not great because of that. You'll fill up lanes if you need to, but realistically, Wixoss is a more proactive game. You should be more proactive than trying to hope that your opponents open up holes in your defense anyways. Moving right along into the rare here, we have Deka Sanbashi, Code Maze. It's got 2 enter abilities. When the Signy in front of it attacks, you may move this Signy into a different zone. So unlike this one jumps in the way of things. This one runs away from attacks. Its other auto ability is at the end of your opponent's turn, you may pay white. If you do, return target Signy into your opponent's field into their hand. 10,000 power, by the way. So this second ability is actually pretty good. 2 stinks that it's colored, but 2 enter to bounce something back to the hand is good. However, doing it at the end of your opponent's turn is unlikely. Your opponent is likely going to find a way to do some kind of removal. Yes, this can run away, and that's built into it, which is pretty good. But there's other ways that you're going to be able to get removal for this cost, especially if you're using other colors. You very rarely are using a monocolor thing in your decks. That this is going to be how you want to go about doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and call this unplayable. White Beta, Phantom Aqua Beast. It's got a level 3, 10,000 power. Constant ability is during your opponent's turn as long as there are 4 or more cards in your hand. This Signy gets plus 2,000 power and Shadow Signy. Now, Shadow is a cool ability. It's a good ability, and basically you're thinking you pretty much can always turn this on as long as you have 4 or more cards in your hand, right? So if you're putting this in a deck, it's likely that you have 4 or more cards in your hand. You are pretty much always going to have that be at 12,000. That then has Shadow Signy. And it's only on your opponent's turn, though, so it's not like it's blocking life bursts. And there's not a ton of Signy-based removal that's hitting 12,000 anyways. So this is sort of a failure in terms of a wall. Like, it does all the things that a wall would do. But if you're using this realistically, why aren't you just playing Arcwing? The thing gets unconditional Shadow during your opponent's turn and is also 12,000. And you don't need to jump through any hoops to require it, and you get more out of it by its enter the battlefield effect. Yes, this could be playing Arcwing 2 and 3, like second copies, or being Arcwing 5 and 6 if you're trying to be a wall deck. But if you're doing that, you're probably got other options too, like PJ Projection Map. I don't think it's that great. I think it's probably a failure of a grade as well. A Shade of Bravery. Okay, so we're on our spells. Actually, before we do our spells, there's actually 2 more level 3s, the Secret Rares. We've got Yoriki, Fully Armed. It has Harmony, which means that you have to take one of your red Elrigs and down it. Otherwise, this will come into play downed. It has 2 abilities. They're auto. Once a turn, when you guard, you can draw a card. So that'll only probably happen on your opponent's turn. And then auto on you, whenever the Signy attacks, you can pay a white and a colorless. If you do, you can add a target Signy with guard from your trash to your hand. This is good. This is a good card. If you are playing a white mid-range or stall deck, which those exist later down the line especially, and also you also have, oh god, why am I brain farting on her name? She's literally right there. Akino. This is built for an Akino no-limit kind of deck, but you can use this in Card Jockey. I think that's probably better where it's better at. Normally, you're paying 3 enter to get back a guard, so to be able to do it for 2, and it comes on a stick, plus it has the upside of being able to be a huge beat stick, plus it can draw you a turn, draw you a guard, draw you a card on your turn, on your opponent's turn. Then this is got all the hallmarkings for a good card. Now, is it amazing? The answer is no. It's got a very niche case where you want to be a white deck that also wants to stall, that also wants to wall, and also wants to actively be recurring guards. So that limits the amount of things that you're going to be playing this in. So I'm going to say playable. It's not staple or anything, and it probably has more good, more defensive level 3 Signies are going to be coming out in set 2 or set 3 and 4. This will drop down to being barely playable, but it will still remain playable. Casapia, Natural Planet Queen. It's a 12,000 power, 2 auto abilities. That is, whenever this attacks, you can reveal the top 4 cards of your library if there are 3 or more level 1s among them until the opponent's end turn. This Signy gets plus 3,000 power, gains Shadow Signy, and then you have to put those revealed cards on the bottom in any order. It also says the second auto ability, which is that at the beginning of your main phase, you may pay white colorless. If you do, you can return target Signy from the opponent's field to their hand. Okay, so already this is better than the one that we were talking about just a second ago over here in White Beta. Sorry, this one. Casapia also has the ability to protect itself if you reveal the top 4. And there's a way to do that. It's called Saturn? I think that's how you spell it in Wixoss. Yeah. So you have an ability to do that in Wixoss where you can basically enable this all the time. And unlike the Libra combo with Saturn, I actually think this one is okay. It's not amazing by any stretch, but being able to make this a 15,000, and it also gets Shadow Signy, and it happens when you attack all the way to the opponent's end step is insane. That means that this is going to go ahead and get itself protection from most life bursts. This is going to be an incredible attacker, incredible wall, and it's realistically going to survive until your next main phase where you're going to be able to pay this mana, or this enter to toss something back to their hand. And realistically, that has the hallmark of a good card, but you need to enable this top part, and the only realistic way to do that is to run Saturn. So if you're not running Saturn, this is purely unplayable. And if you are running Saturn for whatever reason, maybe you've got more combos with it, then this is worth mentioning. Also, it's worth mentioning that this is Cosmos Saturn is also, I believe, a Cosmos. There's Cosmos tribal stuff way later down the line, and that becomes something to keep in mind. And then we talk about our last card here, which is a Shade of Bravery. It's a spell. It costs 1 white enter. Until the end of your opponent's next end phase, target Signy on your field gets plus 5,000 power, loses all of its abilities, gains Shadow and Constant. This Signy can't attack. So you are losing a lot of tempo by playing this card. Personally, right now, I would say it's not playable. I think it has a niche, and you could maybe upgrade it to barely playable, which is that if you have cards that you want to live to the opponent's next turn, then this becomes invaluable. There's some cards that really, really put an emphasis on wanting to wait until the opponent's next turn. We've already read 2 of them, and playing that would be good. Now, if this said draw a card at the end of it, I might really like it because it replaces itself, but the fact that it does not allow your Signy to attack means that you're not getting any tempo out of it. It's going to be barely playable in the future when there's some level 3s you really, really, really need to protect. But if your deck doesn't have level 3 Signys that your deck can't function without them, then I wouldn't be considering this card in the slightest. Again, guys, if you guys want any more deck techs, future deck reviews, as well as set reviews, or you just want to listen to our podcast and be able to learn more about the meta coming up, there are some major tournaments coming up in the soon future, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, may you always flip a life burst.